Hi, I'm Brent Haiti, mentor, coach, and ideal life architect with One Wave Life, and this is Calm Waters, the podcast about creating freedom, experiencing balance, and living a rewarding life while also growing a thriving and successful business. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I am here today with Rob Mamchur of ATB Financial, and Rob and I have had a chance to chat before on our podcast, and I'm looking forward to talking a little differently today and hearing some stories and some insight from Rob on a few key things. So welcome, Rob. How are you doing today?
Doing really well. Thanks, Brent.
Excellent. So as our listeners know on our podcast, we very often are focusing um, on being able to live an ideal life, on being able to explore how we're able to move beyond our work, to be able to experience and grow and do the things that we love to do, not only so that our work can continue to grow and thrive, but also so that we can enjoy the life that we love for ourselves. And of course, that's something unique and different to everybody. And Rob, of course, in leading up to our chat today, you and I have talked many times about the things away from work, and especially one key area around travel, around vacation, around experiencing many things in other parts of the world. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of that stuff. But before we dive into that, let me just ask you this. When it comes to looking aside from work, away from work, what kind of things do you love to do? What kind of things do your family love to do? What fuels your fire in experiencing life beyond work?
Yeah, great question. And I think we've spent a decent amount of time evaluating that, so it's pretty clear. I do believe that you have to have some intention to want to engage in the things that make that meaningful life. We do have a active, busy household, whether that's work, school, extracurricular activities, all the things that we're involved in, and we want to make sure that we know we're doing that for a purpose. And so I know one of the things we will talk about is travel for sure. That's definitely one for us, but also activities, friends and family, making intentional time to visit there as well. And things for me specifically, the gym is a big part of my wellness routine, as well as mindfulness. Those are big parts of how I stay focused. Kind of that analogy of putting your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Those are big parts for me. Yeah.
I love that one. That's
hmm
the oxygen mask on first. If you can't take, or you don't take care of yourself, then how can you be there to support and help others, whether that's your family members or whether that's your friends or whether that's coworkers or people at work as well. And it's not only just your physical health and well-being, but there's also your emotional, your mental, your spiritual health and well-being as well that are important in that respect. So on that one, you like the gym.
hmm
Why the gym compared to, say, working at home or around the home, that kind of thing? Is there something specific about that really works for you?
Well, I do both. So I do. We've moved within the last 5 years, and one of the components was getting a space where I could set up at home as well. But I also appreciate the gym as a group atmosphere, as a external commitment as well to it as
Ah,
well, and as I'm a big believer in being surrounded by experts. I don't think we're ever in a place where having a fitness expert is uh, out of that realm, and keep me guided and focused, and switching up my routine as well too. So
yeah.
a little bit of mix of both, but I love having multiple environments where I can activate that part, and really take some of the excuses away too.
Nice.
hmm
Yeah, it helps to keep us accountable.
hmm
And But it does bring an awful lot more, and it's kind of a two each their own, right? One can be very effective by going to a gym and getting involved with experts or in group programs, or just connecting with others that are there. And someone else can be equally as effective working in their own home-based gym or their fitness equipment that they've got. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all about the intention, like you said. We the busyness
Mm-hmm.
of life in work, but also away from work, we have those day-to-day commitments of uh, supporting our kids for the school or extracurricular endeavors that they're involved in. We've got commitments with family. We've got all those sort of things. It certainly kind of takes up a lot of our time. But then there's the stuff that's beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the things that, like you said, it brings meaning to our lives. It brings meaning to our world. It helps us from a fulfillment standpoint, from a joy standpoint, from so many other things that it brings to us. And you mentioned travel, and that's one of the ones that certainly resonates with me. And I speak about that an awful lot. That, of course, means something different to different people. And I would love to hear more from you about that. And what do you love about travel? Is there something about it that it brings to you personally or brings to your family when you're doing that together, such that you search it out, you want to do it, you want to do more of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple things here. It's definitely become part of our family story and how we appreciate spending that time together. For us, it's a disconnect off the top. It's
Yeah.
ensuring that we're getting away somewhere that um, we're truly turning off the way the routines and the things that we're engaging in on a weekly basis. But we've also just come to truly love the experiences that we're experiencing together. And we go on various types of trips, whether it's um, all four of us or just my wife and I. But also, really pivotal time right now. I think the pandemic really got to show as well too. Not that we didn't find unique ways to engage in some travel closer to home and reminds us of the things that surround us even more closely. But especially in some of those pivotal years where our kids were getting into their teenage years, we started to realize how many much more time we'll have to experience those moments. So
Yes.
um, that pushed us into a year this past year where we went on several experiences in one year to get that all in, and a lot of them came from unique opportunities as well too, and things where we really had to ask ourselves the question: when would we get this opportunity again? And why would we make all the excuses not to do it?
Yes.
When we have something in front of us that could give us a really unique experience that we might not just get on our own. So it became a lot of saying yes and then figuring out the how versus
Yeah.
um, it just convincing ourselves that it's not possible.
Those opportunities, they come along, and sometimes they completely bypass us and we don't even notice them. And yet, like you say, um, as your kids grow older, year by year, you start to think about how many more opportunities might we have, and when they're there, especially some unique ones that
Mm-hmm.
could be a once in a lifetime kind of a thing, for a number of reasons. Um, to start with that it's a bit of a mindful shift kind of a question. Instead of, oh, I don't think that'll work, or that can't work, it's to really just shift it to ask, how could this possibly work? Right? You might go down that path and still realize, yeah, maybe this can't work, but at least you start to open up to it, and it's working for you guys. And I know that you shared about a trip a little while back that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of along that lines of a unique, maybe once in a lifetime opportunity arose experience when you went to Thailand. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to I'd love to hear more about that. We had
Well,
a chance to do the same thing with my family, and
Yeah.
love the country. It's so uniquely different. People can go from two different individuals or same person twice, and have something so different each time that you go. So how did that one come about, and what tell us about that experience?
Yeah. And this almost brings up the breadth at which we do travel. So we did go to Thailand, but actually the one with our whole family was Singapore. So I'll stay on that. I'll stay on that story. We do have the shared experience of Thailand. I did only go there with my wife, but Singapore, all four of us had the chance to go, and that was definitely a trip where, um, you know, it would have been the farthest that we had traveled with our kids, and it came out of an opportunity to attend a conference there, a really impactful conference. And so, started to raise the question, is my partner going to come with me? Is she able to do, if we're going to do this, why isn't the whole family going? And so we did. And it was just one of the most incredible trips we'd ever taken. And again, I don't know if Singapore would have even been on our bucket list in terms of a top place to go. It really did come out of the opportunity that was there. And once we were there, we just could not believe the country we were experiencing, the people, and how little we knew about an area of the world like this.
Yeah,
Again, great cultural experiences for the family, uh, just a really safe, uh, meaningful, sustainable, like so many lessons we could show the girls within there as well too. When we took them on the trip, and so many memories to take away as well. Um, but again, along the way, because of the connection that happened originally, we were very well aware we got certain experiences that we just wouldn't have if we had taken that trip on our own or at a different time. So
absolutely.
it just reaffirmed all of the reasons that hey, this is an indication we need to do this.
Yeah, nice. My
Mhm.
mistake. Singapore was, yeah, what you were
Oh,
sharing previously.
yeah.
So leading into that, you said
Hmm.
it wasn't really on your radar screen.
Hmm.
Opportunity came up as a result of a conference. Um, Not something that maybe your wife or your kids might have looked at and said, "Yeah, I think we should go there."
Hmm.
Were there any challenges in trying to convince the family that this might be a good opportunity? Did you guys start to, research into it? And how did you go from this isn't on our radar screen to excited about this could be pretty cool?
Yeah. No challenges at all. No, absolutely kidding. So, yeah, definitely. And it always starts with a could we do this conversation, and so it starts from there to a planning to some of the things that I wouldn't even have expected to come up. Whereas my kids talking about not wanting to miss school, and I'm just like, how are you so
Yeah,
adamant about this? Who are you? And so it comes from a good place, but
yeah,
at the same time planning. And you know what, I think at this point we were already in a place. I'm very aware. I do talks about it. I talk a lot about how this busyness trap that we can all find ourselves in,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how not having time or not having vacation or not going away have almost become badges of honor within the business world.
yeah,
I hear people lately talk about, yeah, I haven't gone on a vacation, and almost talking about it in a proud sense, like
yeah,
I'm I'm so busy and successful that I I don't take any time away. And I just think we're at a stage where we're just it's a little bit of the reverse mindset that we need to think.
mhm,
And if we're not doing, like I said, we both work pretty hectic schedules, and have pretty involved work environments. And it's about setting the stage for this is going to be something completely different. This is what we're doing it all for. And
yeah,
this is how we're set the stage. And also, I just want to add, just working with some great travel partners as well too, that help all the elements along the way happened as seamlessly as possible is something that we really value as well too, in terms
Yeah.
of making this all happen.
When you've
So
got the right team behind you, right, you can then just have that peace of mind to know that things are taken care of.
yeah.
And if something does happen to go sideways, you got someone that you can lean on to support you. So you can just focus on the things that matter most.
Well, and I might just add to that too. I know everyone's scenario is different. I do work for an organization. I know entrepreneurs as well too. There's all different states at which we think we can't leave the business to run in one way or another. And
Mhm.
um, but I always think, especially if we have a team around us in one form or another, um, some of the most key moments throughout my career have been not when all the safety measures are around us, is when we have a little bit of room for things for us to put our leadership hat. So however we can um, uh, empower our teams to be able to take on some of these further elements without us there to
Yeah,
control everything, it's only creating more growth. May some things pop up and arise happen, but I continually, like being a leader of teams for many years, I continually get surprised about how much doesn't happen while I'm away in terms of surprises or fires or
right, right.
anything like that. And I have to remind myself, oh, maybe I'm weighing the impact I have on a daily basis in terms of being there to support
Right.
surprises that come up way too much.
So did you find on that particular trip or on other trips that you've been on, did you have a need to stay connected back to the office or to actually do some things in that respect? Or were you able, at least at good chunks of time during it, to really fully let go?
Yeah, no. So both of us found a level of disconnect that we probably hadn't quite done before. I myself set the stage of my team and other resources in case some things arise that I did not need to check in at all. So I was able to completely disconnect. It was probably one of the
Nice.
also the longer trips, especially if we were going that far around the world. We wanted to spend the right
Yeah.
amount of time there. So even with one of the longer trips away we've taken, um, found a complete way to disconnect. And my wife being an entrepreneur herself, she found herself needing to use her own devices as minimal as possible.
Nice. That's a powerful
Mhm.
shift. And like you said, there's a lot of business people, a lot of owners, a lot of career-minded professionals that really do get caught up in that badge of honor, like you said, around um, feeling almost proud about not taking time off. Whether that's for an extended travel vacation or whether that's simply an extended weekend out to the mountains here or something like that. And when doing so, there's often a lot of these excuses that pop up. Sometimes it's simply because that's what society, that's what our current market tells me repeatedly over and over, that this is the way that it's supposed to be. And also there's perhaps a lot of those excuses that come up within to say, well, I couldn't possibly make that work, or that how that, they don't get to that question of how could this possibly work. So it becomes the shift or the change. It's almost like I'll I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's like you
Mhm.
have to kind of take a risk, or you have to kind of choose to go out and do it. And then when you experience it, and especially if you have an experience that is uh, maybe to the point of life altering, or maybe at least to the point of mindset shifting in the sense
Mhm.
of the experience you have, now you can kind of go, yeah, that does work well, and that did have an impact, and look at all these good things that came of this. And now we look to perhaps do it again and again and again. It's not like we
Yeah.
need to necessarily stop working altogether, but it's how does it fit into our working and career or business life so that it brings us what we want. So what I love to hear from you then is, after an experience like that, the
Hmm.
disconnect, like you talked about, the recharge that came from that.
Hmm.
What did it mean coming back
Hmm.
into your work, into your role with your team that had been empowered to do the work without you being there? Did you notice
Yeah.
anything in particular?
Yeah, I think, well, definitely noticed the recharge in ourselves and the experience that it gave us all to, you know, get back into everything in a really meaningful way. And, but also just, yeah, noticing the people around me, my teams around me that, um, how they dug in while I was away, how they took on things that were coming up, and it's real development opportunities for them. And I think one of the things we can also get caught up in that comes from a good place is this idea of servant leadership, right? And especially with all the ways of technology that we have now that can keep us so connected, you
Yeah,
know, yeah, there's good parts about them, but especially um, around an area when you're taking vacation, it can be so easy to get back in that chat group or get back in those messaging features when your team isn't saying they need you,
yeah,
but you're just going to post a message in there to say, hey, I'm helpful. I can help you here. And, I just, in a lot of those moments, what you're really saying is, I don't know if I believe that you can take care of this on your own.
yeah,
And some of those come in a little different ways. So it's, again, going back to what you said several times, there really is that mindset shift about the experience that you're offering your team while you're away, and it's giving them a development opportunity that you might have to just create a little bit of awareness for, like setting the stage before you go. Hey, you're going to come into some things that you may be normally not used to or haven't experienced before, but no, this is going to just lead to your own development and how much you're growing your own skill sets. And when that stage is set, like
yeah.
your team is ready to run with you.
There's an intentional piece around that because as business owners or as career focused professionals, sometimes letting go of control,
Yeah.
letting giving that permission to the others to step up and do what they're doing, and then perhaps equally as important, maybe even more importantly, is to give yourself permission to let go and trust in those that are continuing to do the work while you're away.
And
That
and if
becomes
you're
a big piece.
and if your goal is to scale or grow and develop a team without some of those moments, it will never
Yeah,
happen.
no,
And
no,
you and
right.
you will ensure things stay stagnant. Yes, it feels comfortable to make sure you have ownership on all the systems and experiences, but yeah, you need to give some of those moments as well. So really, I mean, it can be outside of our direct human nature sometimes, but um, shifting into that mindset has multiple benefits.
Absolutely. And that's a great point about developing and nurturing teams in that respect. And
Hmm.
for someone that not only wants to travel but and do things away from work, but to be able to get to the point where you can focus on the specific elements or roles within the work where you are most passionate about or strongest
Hmm.
at, making the biggest contribution while the other parts are being handled by others. That plays right into that as well. So there's
Hmm.
that kind of that mindset
Hmm.
shift, that ability to give permission and let go works on so many fronts.
Hmm.
And for yourself, so you're able to take some time and go. Top two or three highlights from that time in Singapore and that part of the world. What would they have been for you? To what specifically did you experience that this was right up there?
Yeah. So many with my family, including like so many of the beautiful areas that we got to explore there and some of the tours that we went on. I think I'll share one experience for myself where this conference I was part of, which had about 3,500 people in attendance, um, and I took full part in that over a course of 3+ days. Well, my family did their own things, and then we came back together. But there was an offering out there back into the whole wellness focus. One of the attendees was a world-renowned Muay Thai uh, competitor who had turned into instructor, and he was part of this conference. And he offered that um, free Muay Thai lessons to any one of the conference attendees at I think it was 6 or 6:30 in the morning before the conference day started, out in this beautiful like terrace that they had. And I'm like, I'm all in. Like, I get to experience this with someone like one of the best in the world. And
Yeah.
yeah, count me in. I'm doing it. I'm getting it. So I got all ready and went down there 6 in the morning, ready for this thing. Sun's just like starting to come out. Just beautiful. Like I said, I show up out of 3,500 attendees at the conference. I'm the only one there. And so I
Yeah.
felt a little, you know, I felt a little bad for this guy. He throws out this amazing offer to a whole group of people and he gets
Right.
one. But at the same time, I'm like, I get a private instruction
Exactly.
led by this world renowned guy. So it was amazing. He was so generous with his time and everything, and even took videos and all kinds of stuff for me to learn from. It was an incredible session. And so from there, I'm like, hey, can we do something? I'd love, like, could I pay for a class? Could my family all come because they have interest in kickboxing and some of those things? So could we all come down and do a session in your gym later in the week and kind of
Yeah.
pay it forward? He's absolutely. So he helped set that up so well. So we went down later in the week to his private gym and did an amazing session. He made my family feel so welcome and so taken care of, and it was incredible. And I'm even going there to okay, what do we owe you for this? What's it going to cost for the session? And he said, I don't want any money. If you could do like a 30-second maybe testimonial about the experience, that's all we need. So it was incredibly amazing. He was so giving. And if I hadn't said yes to this opportunity on this particular trip, that's definitely something that we wouldn't have got to experience in that way, and just really got to
Yeah.
experience the giving nature of the country we were a part of. Um, and I might just transition this. Like, I know we're talking this a lot about some over the top experiences, but
Yeah.
I would really want to advocate, and I do this as well too. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. Like, even just, I think it's harder for us at times to take time away to just do nothing and just be at home, just do that staycation, as we call it, just to
Yeah.
reset. It's having a reason to travel and a reason to take time away is hard enough as it is, but taking time away just without a reason, without anywhere you're going, is so much harder.
Yeah.
But it is that much more needed as well too. And I just like to do an advocacy for the many examples I've seen of how much that impacts the way that we can give back to our clients, to our teams. We just can't do it in the same way if we're continually running on the same pace
Yeah.
constantly. It's just not within us, and we deserve it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Excellent points. And it doesn't have to be over the top, but interestingly though,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're halfway across the world in Singapore or whether you're in your own backyard,
Mm-hmm.
to simply be aware of opportunities that present themselves to you. They could be an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity that might cost you some money. They could be an opportunity that is absolutely free. They could be an opportunity that someone, as you just shared, is willing to give to you. And when you're, all they wanted in reciprocation was give us a testimonial for the amazing experience that you had. Kind of a no-brainer.
100%. Yeah.
And these things can happen close to home.
Mm-hmm.
The same types of interactions and same types of benefit that comes from them. And I think the bottom line is when we can start to simply be more open to seeing those and saying yes to those, that you just never know what it might look like. And it could be one of these experiences that you could not recreate that even if you tried. It just naturally occurred and happened, and you were the benefit of it, and your family was the benefit of it. And because of that, now here, years down the road, you can share that story of a wonderful memory, of a wonderful experience you had in doing that, and what it brought to you personally, what it brought to you in that interpersonal dynamic with a person that you had just met from some other part of the world. Once again, that can happen right here as well. And it's those energy recharging moments that really come back and have an impact on your future day-to-day experiences, whether it be at work or elsewhere. When you take the time to recharge physically, when you take the time to recharge more emotionally around what matters, when you take the time to recharge mentally in terms of disconnecting and allowing the brain overload and clutter that we tend to experience so much, it each comes along and is needed at different times depending on what's going on in our world. Each can be addressed in different ways based on being somewhere traveling across the world, or being right here in our own backyard. Regardless of that, though, the benefit that comes, the shift that comes within, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is really what we're talking about here. And I love that you guys have said yes to those opportunities, and that you have created that ability to go and experience other parts of the world, but also to be open while you're there to experiencing something a little out of the ordinary, not the usual tourist trap stuff that everybody does, but something a little more unique and it lasts. So from your perspective, yeah. Now, how about from your girls, your kid, when they go and experience something like that, do you get a sense from them what it means to a younger person to try that Muay Thai, or to just travel, or to 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 leave school behind for a little bit? As interesting as it is, I know my daughter's the same way, in the sense that, okay, great, but
Yeah. Yeah, for sure comes from a good.
what was it like for them?
Yeah, they had great experiences, and we're mindful as well too that um, that the gravity of some of these experiences, or um, what they're being a part of, might not be fully realized with their age and life experience. But at the same time, we make a point of going back and sharing those stories, and coming back to some of those moments as well, and getting them to talk it through. And also, while we're in it, um, knowing that this isn't just our experience, and determining what would something that they would might not come right out and say it, but what would they want to take part of while they are here as well too? Because yeah, uh, even though they're not fully foot in the bill for the experience, if they're part of this as well too, we want it to be their experience as well, and be part of how we plan it out. So that came into play in some of the tours, some of the different things that we experienced or got involved in, to make sure it's not just a trip that they felt like that they were pulled around from here to there. Otherwise, like, you could literally do something like that, and they take it away as a negative experience, even
Yeah,
traveling that way across the world, right?
yeah.
So, yeah.
It comes back to that intentional decision
Hmm.
making again, and when you
Hmm.
involve everybody,
Mm-hmm.
then everybody can hopefully walk away feeling like it was exactly what they wanted,
Yeah.
and we'll have a memory for life from that.
And again, it's I have people around me that have incredible experiences with their family regularly in our own province. So it doesn't need to be far. It's that devotion of
Mm,
time to uh, create some of those uninterrupted experiences, and maybe not as much uninterrupted, focused, and then creating some of those memories. And I think you always have to ask your question, if you're finding that that you are telling yourself that taking that time isn't possible, then what are we doing it for?
mm.
And what is the hectic nature that our lives can become? What becomes the purpose of it if we can't have some experiences outside of that?
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to what you've already shared, I think there's been some very valuable insights that someone listening can draw upon. Um, if you were to sum it up in a few key tips
Mm-hmm.
around how can someone who is maybe caught up in that badge of I don't take vacations, or maybe just in that feeling stuck of I don't know how it could work for me. Um, what might you say to them? What might you offer in terms of a few key pieces of advice so that someone could potentially be open to that opportunity and see it, and then actually work with either themselves or them with their spouse or them with their family if they have kids to make it happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think first is somewhat of a values assessment. Like, what is meaningful to you? What if you took the time? Forget if it's a yes or no.
Yeah.
What if you took the time would be a valuable experience for you and your
What would
family?
it bring to you? Yeah.
What does that look like? Maybe it's just getting an Airbnb in Calgary and just going and getting a different uh, change of scenery and a different environment where you're not caught up in everything. So what is that
Right.
meaningful thing to you? And then I think when you determine that, working backwards into can you make it possible becomes a lot easier, right? Versus continually, well, I'm not even going to plan anything because I don't even think it's possible. But once you start thinking about what that right thing is, and what's right for you and your family, then you can start working yourself there. And I think another thing, I talk a lot about the busy trap and how we get caught up in it. We are busier in our lives than people have ever been in their lifetime, and there are ways that we're consumed in what we're doing that we don't even realize, and ways that we can free up our calendar and build up some of the components around us to allow us to be a way that um, we don't even get towards. So when you think it's impossible to take time away to reduce the amount of hours you're putting into whatever it is you're doing, it is possible. And there's some real meaningful ways that we can
Yeah.
have an impact on that from a variety of directions. So just that idea of impossible to reduce the amount of time, you can very much reduce the time and get better results as well too.
Nice. It is
Mm-hmm.
possible. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
can. Got
Mm-hmm.
to begin with the why, begin with the value of what it will bring to you, and then asking that question: how can we make this work? And it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily an easy solution,
Mm-hmm.
and it might be a step by step one that may take some time. But we can start with the baby steps, like you said. It can start with a staycation one or a local one in our region, and maybe one day it becomes a longer, further away um, travel type of an adventure vacation that could be a bit of a once in a lifetime experience. All are good, right? Each step along the way.
And one more thing I would say is even though the thought of if it's a trip, a vacation, some time away, even all that can fit in this zone of adding more comfort in your life.
Mm-hmm.
The thought of doing something that you haven't done before is discomfort. It is getting outside of your comfort zone. So what you have to remind yourself is you getting yourself outside of a routine that you found yourself in
Yeah,
is where you're feeling discomfort. The actual doing the thing that you end up planning will lead to that. So just
you
being
bet.
mindful that you're trying to step outside of a routine that you've established yourself, and that's okay that it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably more of a sign that it needs to be done.
Absolutely. Some people that's a
Mhm.
bit of a stretch and they need that prompting and maybe that support to do so. Others, once you start to do that, and I'm kind of one of those. I love that kind of that stretch out the comfort zone and just get out there
Mhm.
and do it
Mhm.
and enjoy it for all that it is. So with that, what's next for you, for your family? Do you have a potential different area of the globe on the radar screen, or what, in terms of a wish list, what might that look like for you guys?
Well, we actually just got back this past week. We in terms of another opportunity that came up that we jumped on. We went to experience the eclipse right in the most prominent place to see it in the world in Mazatlan. So that was a once in a lifetime
Very
experience that
cool.
we
Yeah.
that we took away from that. And then later this year, going to experience my sister competing in an Ironman in Tennessee, and we've got some
Tennessee.
great value out of experience some areas of North America that just again wouldn't have been on our radar. So we plan to
Yeah.
not only am I really excited to watch her in action because I've only heard the story so far, but
Yeah. Yeah.
explore the areas in and around Tennessee and um, see how that part of North America looks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, keep
Hmm.
watching for those opportunities.
Hmm.
Keep finding ways to potentially say yes to them and keep your family going. Eventually, those gals of yours are going to get older and older and be moving on to things on their own. So
Totally.
enjoy every moment of it. And thanks so much for sharing your insight, sharing about these stories. Hopefully, some people that are listening will be inspired to create some change and actually begin to take some of those steps locally or more globally and reap the benefits that come from it. So thanks again for chatting today, Rob. I really appreciate it. And I love to hear the stories. And I look forward to hearing more of them when you come back from those next adventures.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Brent.
Well, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. I hope you have at least one new insight that you can take away and apply to your business or your life right now, and that you've been inspired to rise above the waves of stress, overwhelm, or unhappiness that currently crash down all around you. I hope the message of today's podcast has motivated you to harness the power within those waves so that you can redirect them and begin to ride wave after wave of change towards the calm waters of a thriving business and a life you love. In our One Wave Global community, you'll find our members are just like you. They share many of the same challenges that you face. They want to create and live their version of the One Wave lifestyle at work and at home. And they love the form of mutual support that our community brings. Come check us out at onewaveglobal.com. And if you feel the need for a higher level of direct personal coaching, then contact me through our website at onewavelife.com. Till next time, be healthy, be happy, and live fully.